In today's video, I'm going to walk you through a very important question that I think you need to answer in your business. And when you've uncovered the answer for yourself with this very question, I think the business is going to get a lot easier for you to scale. Hey, my name is Steve Olson. If this is the first time you are watching any of my videos, I'm the founder of Stoli Network, a national real estate team that helps agents build their listing inventory and then advertise that listing inventory for a revenue share. If you have any questions about our team, you can go to stolinetwork.com. I will put a link in the description below. I had 3 calls today. One that was interested in consulting with us, and the other 2 were interested in joining the team. And one of the people that was interested in joining the team asked a very important question, or a very question that was kind of out of the blue. And he said, I'm going to ask you a question, and it doesn't really mean anything, but I would love to hear your insights on it. And I said, okay, this is kind of weird, but go ahead and ask the question. He said, do you believe that real estate agents are entrepreneurs? And I said, that is a weird question. He goes, I know, but I would just love to hear your thoughts because that would just help me process all the things that you do. I said, fair enough. And I said, well, and first to answer that question, let's define what an entrepreneur is, because if our definition of an entrepreneur is different, my opinion on this really doesn't matter. He goes, I totally agree. And I said, by the Webster's Dictionary or Google or Gemini or whatever you can find, the most common definition of an entrepreneur is somebody who risks their own capital to solve a problem for profit. And I'll give that to you again. Somebody who risks their own capital to solve a problem for profit. And I said, by the very definition, we do solve problems for profit. We help people buy and sell real estate. And without us, it's not impossible, but it's much harder. You need an intermediary for transactions this big. And it's not just real estate, expensive cars, jewelry, auction stuff. All of these people have intermediaries because it's really hard to make purchases this size of the transaction and actually stay on the wagon and get all the way to the finish line because it's very emotional. And he goes, okay, I agree, but let's get back to the original question. Are we actually entrepreneurs? And I said, yes, but not in the way that you think we are. And he goes, tell me more. And I said, well, what problem do you think you solve in the market? And he goes, well, we help buyers and sellers like buy real estate and sell real estate. And I said, okay, do you think that's a problem that people have, or is that a need they have, a means to an end to something they're going to do no matter what? And he said, no matter what. I said, well, sure. Most people who buy and sell real estate aren't doing it from an opportunistic perspective. They do it because they need to. You know, they have another kid, they're upsizing, they're downsizing, new schools, new job, new market, new climate, whatever reason people have for making the move. And then we are a means to that end. So I don't know that that's really the problem that we solve. And he had some ideas around some other problems. And I said something that he goes, whoa, I don't know if I agree with that. And I'm going to give that to you at the end of the video. Maybe you'll agree with me, maybe you won't. But I don't think the main problem that we as real estate agents solve is helping people buy and sell real estate. All of that can be very leveraged, and I'll talk about that later in the video. I think the problem that we solve for profit is client acquisition. And if you don't believe me, if you look at the most valuable companies in the real estate space right now, I believe number one, I did not do any research on this before the call, but I have looked at this before, and I'm sure nothing's changed. I believe the number one real estate company in the entire United States, if not world, is Zillow. And Zillow does no brokerage services whatsoever. They are only in client acquisition and client attraction. Every single real estate brokerage out there is only in client acquisition and client attraction. Most real estate companies have nothing to do with the transaction, nothing to do with the fulfillment of the client, nothing to do with negotiations or inspections or mortgage or finance or anything like that. Their job purely as a real estate brokerage is number one, to keep us compliant, and number two, to attract as many real estate agents into that brokerage as they can so that they can grow effectively. Our job as a real estate agent is really the same, but instead of us attracting more real estate agents, we are attracting more clients that we can sell for. So in the sense of, are we entrepreneurs? If you believe the highest and best use of your time in real estate is attracting clients to your business, then all day long, we are entrepreneurs. If you are nothing more than let's rewind a quick second. Let's say that 100% of your business comes from Zillow. And it would be really interesting if somebody did a study, maybe the study's already been done, but it would be really interesting to find what percentage of all sales were influenced by Zillow in the United States. I think the number is going to be higher than you think it is. I'm not even going to venture to take a guess, but I think no matter what the number is, I think it's probably a crazy number. But moving on, if you're 100% of your business comes from Zillow, maybe you're on Zillow Flex or you're on market-based pricing, and that's your entire business, which is super risky. I'm sure I don't need to tell you guys that. You are not an entrepreneur, you are a servicer. And what I mean by a servicer, we ran one of the biggest foreclosure teams in the country. We were really early into the game. You know, we're carrying 200 to 300 listings at a time back then. And I knew, and this did happen, I knew at any given point, this gravy train that we were on will eventually end because these foreclosures, they're not going to last forever. This is a moment in time. And back then, although I did own the brokerage and all that fun stuff, we had two huge teams within the brokerage. We did very well. I knew that that was not a business. We were nothing more than a servicer for a bigger business. And even the companies that we were a servicer for, they were servicers for the bank, right? So there was basically three people involved in this transaction all the way through. We had the attorneys, we have the servicer that was servicing all the, like the trustee for the foreclosure, and you had the real estate agent. All of these were servicers for the main business. And fast forward to 2011, all of that went away because the market recovered and there was not a need for as many foreclosure agents. Now, there are still people doing foreclosures now. If you're really good at it and you stuck through it, you probably still have somewhat of a business. But to have as many agents sell foreclosures now as back then would just be like unreasonable, right? That would be an example of, yes, we're self-employed. Yes, we get a 1099 from our broker, but that is not an entrepreneur because we are servicing somebody else's business. So here's my suggestion to you. If your business is in a spot right now where you're not thrilled where it's at, I would ask yourself this simple question. How many hours a day am I spending in client attraction? If it's less than one, you're probably not making the money you want to make. If it's 1 to 2, you're probably doing okay. If it's 3+ every single day, 5 days a week for 40 weeks a year, you're probably minting money right now. You see, your income, your sales volume, your leads have nothing to do with market cycles. We can generate an obscene amount of leads in a very down low market, and we can generate no leads in a very, very good market. The market has nothing to do with it. It solely has the ability to do with how well you are, how good of a job you do with client attraction. How many hours a day would I spend? If you have no business right now and no budget, I would be spending 4 hours a day, every single day, 5 days a week, 20 days a month, 12 months a year, doing nothing but client attraction activities. Running ads, making content, YouTube channel, door knocking, open houses, expires, COI, circle prospecting, like whatever you can do to have the most amount of conversations every single day, I would be doing for 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, 4 weeks a month, 12 months a year. But only when you commit to that, and it's exhausting. It would be painful. But you know what type of pain that is? It's not the pain of regret, it's the pain of success, which I'm sure you've been through before and you want to do again. I told you earlier in the video, there was something I said on that call that they challenged me on. And I said, look, you may not want to hear this, but you can leverage all of the fulfillment in real estate. You see, most clients don't care who does what. They just care that it gets done. They don't care who handles the negotiations. They don't care who handles the showings or all the paperwork or the finance or all that. They just care that they have a red carpet experience. And if you're doing everything across the entire thing, chances are you're not focused on client attraction, which means less opportunities for your clients, by the way. And B, you're probably a 8 out of 10 on all those things because you're handling all of that. Like nobody wants an 8 out of 10 experience. They want a 10 out of 10 experience. So where most agents make crazy mistakes is that they leverage the lead generation and the marketing and they handle the fulfillment themselves. My suggestion is you flip it. Your highest and best value to your business, to your bottom line, to your wealth, to your dollar amount is your ability to attract clients. Everything else is fulfillment, right? If you go to a McDonald's, the person who checks you out, if assuming it's still a normal person, or Taco Bell or Wendy's or whatever fast food, the person who takes your order is almost never the person that makes the food. And the person that makes the food is never the person working the drive-through. And the person working drive-through is almost never the person that owns the restaurant. It's all a part of supply chain management to make sure that you get the right food the same way every time and at a speed that you're happy with, right? Real estate's the exact same way. Fix the process. Don't try to control the whole thing and your business will grow. So are we entrepreneurs? The answer is yes. We risk our own capital to solve a problem for profit, but that problem that we solve is client attraction. It is the only thing that you should be over indexing on in 2025. I'll see you on the next one.